Hi everyone, I'm Barbara Beck and I want to welcome you to Current. Every year as Americans, we have the honor to take a day and celebrate the lives who have fought for us and who have died fighting for us. Those people who are heroes. And we should count ourselves blessed as a nation to have committed men and women who are willing to place themselves in harm's way for us. Let's hear from the Current ladies on this very important subject as we honor and remember those who served our country. Welcome, ladies.
Hi.
So everybody have somebody that they want to honor and remember? Do we all know people who have fought in wars for us? Yes?
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely. Family and friends. And I mean, as we were preparing for this show, I just could not be more reminded of how grateful I am to be an American and to live in this country. I love it. I love 4th of July. I think Memorial Day is wonderful. And just so grateful that so many people have sacrificed for the freedoms that we all get to enjoy. That, you know, a lot of our generation, you know, nobody was drafted for our generation,
Right.
you know. So I just think that it's amazing that people can offer up such sacrifices. And I love this country.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's so great too because it gives us our chance to remind our children. Sometimes it's easy, we get down to generations and we forget what was fought for and why it was fought for. And I think it's that chance to take a moment and go, let us tell you why we love America, why we love our freedom, because it was fought for. It wasn't really free. It was fought for. And so I think it's that chance just to remember. And I have so many friends. I mean, not only my dad fought in World War II, he was on the front lines as a nurse, if you can believe that. But then we have so many friends that are still serving today.
Sure.
And, you know, I'm reminded of the families that are still sacrificing because, like, when their husband leaves or the wife leaves, it's for a year, and the whole family sacrifices, still fighting for, if maybe it's not our freedom always, but it's somebody else's freedom. And we just can't forget the cause. So.
Yeah, and I really never knew many people that fought in wars, you know, and I had a good friend in college. He was in the ROTC and he went away, but we lost touch a little bit. And I know this is going to sound so silly, but a few years ago, I watched on Netflix some of that Army's Wives. Do you remember that show?
Yeah.
Okay, my heart changed so drastically because it really portrayed what it was like when you have a loved one leave. And so after that, every time I saw anybody in the military, I would go up and I would say, thank you so much for serving, because I really took it for granted. We don't live in a military town. So we don't see it as often. And it's just a huge, I mean, I don't know. So if you're not appreciative of our country, go watch that show and you will be. It was funny.
I have relationships with all of those. I have a young man, and I say a young man, that is the father to a couple of our members at our church that's like 92 years old, that was in the military, and I think he served in like every war you can think of because he's 92 years old. And then I have a young lady that God just kind of sent into my life about 10 years ago. Her husband is in the military, and it's amazing to me that they are still married because of the amount of time that he spends away from home because of his service.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've had many times where we've had conversations because she was struggling with just being that single parent. You're married, but you're a single parent. Why? Because they're gone for so long. And then, of course, my brother is ex-military, was in the military for 25 years. And then my best girlfriend was in Desert Storm.
Wow.
So I have a lot of that.
close.
Right. Yeah, and she still, to this day, has illnesses that she's dealing with. So when they start talking about the insurance and the benefits for the veterans, it's very near and dear to my heart because she's had breast cancer. A list of issues, and a lot of them are directly connected to her years of service. Her daughter up and decides to go into the Air Force. So it just kind of continues on and on. And you have families that are very connected, and from one generation to the next, they serve in the military. So.
Well, we've talked about Papa, your dad, so much. Y'all have heard all about him, but I mean,
feel like he's our Papa.
I mean, he is, right? He just
You could only be so lucky, right?
But he really instilled in me, and I would imagine in you, just such a sense of patriotism and civic duty and honoring the flag and honoring those who served. And when you talk about veterans, you know, as a country, we have not done a great job at all, or good job, and we've done a bad job of honoring those who have come home and who are dealing with PTSD and dealing with illnesses that they incurred while they were over there fighting for our freedoms. So I love that, Leanne, that you speak to.
It's just so important. I mean, because if you don't have it close in your life, I don't think until you have a reason to be appreciative, but everybody needs to be appreciative.
Absolutely.
But see, that's what's so sad to me. Like, we all have a reason to be appreciative. Just, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, we
say
do,
that.
but-
You know what I'm saying is that it's so easy for our generation. And I'm saying for me, it's like I want my kids to understand that you walk outside and can carry a Bible. Because there's kids over in China right now and some of these places who can't profess their faith.
Right.
And I mean, I just sit there and think, wow, it's so easy for us to take it for granted. Like what you're saying, it hits me hard. It's because we don't live it. We don't have to fight for that every day, or to even have our freedom of speech, or our just the freedoms that we take so for granted, to understand somebody died for that.
And that
somebody,
what we complain about so much, and how divisive we are as a nation. It doesn't matter if the president, if your governor, if your city commissioner, whoever they are, you're not going to agree with everybody. But this we need to agree on, that we are so incredibly blessed to have a nation to live in like we live in. I can remember, Kristen, your papa, when he was probably 6 months away from dying, he was in a nursing home. He said, "Get me out to the polls to vote. I've got to vote." He would never, ever, ever miss. And I know with this last presidential election, there was so much divisiveness, and I'm not going to vote because I don't know who to vote for. No, you get out there and you vote, because there is not a perfect candidate. And my dad had to struggle to get out of that chair. He went to the polls, no absentee voting for him. He was going to show up in person. He had several people come out, help him out of his wheelchair, put him in that little place, and I just thought, I will never, ever not vote. I will always honor our country, honor my dad, honor those men and women who have served our country by voting, no matter what our circumstances are.
I know we've had issues with terrorist attacks in our country, but just think the strength and the power of our military. We've never had war on our in
That's
our
right.
country,
That's
where
right.
we've had to be worried about whether we were going to be here tomorrow or not, like some of the other countries.
Right.
Instead, they gave their lives
Yes.
to keep that from happening to us. So yes, we have the ability to be able to choose who we're going to serve. I can serve Jesus or Islam, or whatever my choice of religion is. But just the mere fact that I'm not laying in my bed listening to bombs over my head is the most amazing thing to me when I look at other countries where lives are being lost every single day. And still there's thousands. A young man at my church, family at my church, I guess Brandon is probably 21, 22. He's out there in the middle of the ocean. I mean, I can't say where he is, I guess, but he's out there right now. And so every day, we're thanking God that we have this wonderful opportunity, but we're praying that, bring our troops home safe.
When we do a segment like this, we talk about it, and we know we need to be appreciative, and we know, but really, let's get practical. What do we need to be doing? How can we memorialize people who have served, or to thank veterans who are out there today? I know, Leanne, you said you don't ever see anybody in uniform now without going up and thanking them. There are tangible things that we need to be doing. Anybody have any ideas?
Well, I think that it comes back to that educating ourselves of not only where we come from, but how far we've come. I get the privilege, and I know a lot of you guys do too, to go do mission work in other countries. And for me, it's always that reminder right in my face again of, we are really free. And just the freedom that we as women have, that we can walk out without our heads being covered, and we can vote, and we can work, and these are freedoms that we have. And so I think it's educating ourselves to understand where we come from, and then sharing that with our children.
Yes.
Letting them watch things that says, look, this is what it was about, And I think that's, so when we go up and say thank you to these people who are fighting, we can say thank you for our freedom. Thank you. Why? And so we can carry this tradition on. So.
And to encourage maybe some of these women, Leanne, you said it so beautifully about women and how difficult it is for a lot of divorces happen. We can encourage people when you see somebody who is like, or you, Deborah, too, you were talking about it, who does have the role of a single mom. Hey, hang in there. It's going to be worth it. Save your marriage. My dad was gone for 6 months on what they called TDY, temporary duty abroad, or something it stood for. And he went to Morocco for 6 months when I was a baby. He did not see his baby girl, his adorable little baby girl, me, for the first 6 months of my life. And yet they made it. They didn't always have a perfect marriage by any stretch of the imagination, but they were committed to each other. And that's what maybe we could
But how to
encourage.
help the wife.
Yeah.
How to help
can I
somebody.
help you?
Yes.
Can you come over for dinner?
Can I keep
help
your
you with
kids?
this? Can I-
Babysit.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right, just to be aware of it.
And it's funny because I was listening to something last night. They were talking about a military kid was talking last night about all the things that being a military kid has done for him. He goes, it's made me resilient.
Yes.
It's made me, and he was going all these positive things. He goes, I'm independent and I'm all these. And the one thing that they kept talking about was just how much the family that they have inside of that world and how they are each other's. When you live
On a base.
on base, they really become a family. And I
Telling
think
you, watch the show.
it's the power. It is true, right? It's the power of community.
We lived that show. We
did.
moved every 2 years, and it was very difficult for my brother because my dad retired by the time I was about in the 9th grade. I think he was retired, so it wasn't as hard for me. But he had to change schools every 2 years, and so there are a lot of adjustments that kids have to make. But it does, Carolyn, make you more resilient. It makes you more able to to figure out new friends when you go to new places. And some of us, and I've always been that way, super protective of my little family, and I don't want to disrupt my little family too much. We can't move or we can't change schools. Your kids have been all over the place with schools and trying to figure out what's best for your kids. They're okay.
They
They're going to
are
be okay,
okay.
and maybe they'll be stronger for it too.
Well, I wanted to share some scriptures about this. I read a great article that gave 3 points, which I love points. So the first was remembering the great sacrifice of those who have served. And the scripture that goes along with that is John 15:13. Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for one's friends.
Amen.
And, to remember that sacrifice, which obviously Jesus made the greatest sacrifice. And then number 2, comforting those who have lost ones in war or in active duty or on assignment. And that scripture is Psalm 34:18, and it's, the Lord is near to those who have a broken heart and saves such as have a contrite spirit. And then finally, number 3, remembering those currently in active service. And Philippians 1:3 says, I thank my God every time I remember you. And so I just thought those 3, remembering the sacrifice, comforting those who have lost, and thanking those and being
Yes.
mindful of those who are still in active
Tangible things. I love that.
Those are really good.
Yeah.
One of the things that we are currently involved in, we do housing, right?
Yes.
We have a project that is being renovated, and a portion of the housing is set aside for veterans.
Awesome.
That is wonderful.
Because
At
the
affordable rates, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And the last thing we want is our veterans
That's
to be homeless.
That's right.
So that's our
that's wonderful.
way of
That's
saying
exciting.
we appreciate your service. And
Yes. A lot of times people think that the veterans have all these wonderful benefits, and my dad retired from the Air Force, and there was nothing for him. When he went into a nursing home, there were some terrible things that we had to do to get him there as far as
Really?
their finances. Yes, the veterans did not. It was not set up for him, and maybe because they owned a house, maybe they were in an economic kind of situation or financial situation where it wasn't as needed, but he pretty much had to give up everything to get into a nursing home because the costs are so exorbitant. But what we need to do is, thank you for that, Kristen, pray for our veterans, provide affordable housing when we can, point them to the ways that are going to help them, because if we don't honor those who have gone before us. I saw a bumper sticker, I'm all over the place here, bumper sticker the other day said, home of the free and the brave. It would not be free if it hadn't been for the brave.
That's right.
You love that?
Yeah.
That's neat.
wow,
That's good.
Yeah, that's
Well,
great.
thank you, ladies, for all of your contributions today. And we will remember to pray for those who have gone before us, particularly remember those who have died, and to do everything we can do to make life a little bit easier for those who have gone before us in serving our country and who are currently serving our country. Well, we've got a lot more for you coming up, so stay with us. we sure couldn't have John Rivers in the house without having him in the kitchen. We're so glad to have
Thank
you
you,
here in the
Barbara.
kitchen with us
Love being
on
here
what's
with you.
cooking. Well, thanks. What do we have? We're going to learn how to do something similar to what you do at the smokehouse when we don't have a smokehouse, right?
That's right. So many people ask, I love ribs,
Yes.
I love smoked ribs, but I don't have a smoker.
Right.
How can I make them at home in an easy way? So I'm going to show you how to do that today. All right, and we're going to take, this is called a St. Louis rib. And a lot of people have, they get confused about the different types of ribs. You have a St. Louis rib, you have a spare rib,
Yes.
and you have a baby back rib. Well, actually, if you think about the pig, and the backbone that goes down, there's only one set of rib that comes all
That's
the way down
right.
on both sides. So the rib all the way down, okay, that's a spare rib.
Okay.
The very top of it where it turns, okay, that the little teeny piece of it, that's the baby back part of the spare rib.
okay, the
The spare
tender
rib goes
part.
all the way down. And you ever notice how sometimes you go to places and you get a rib and it's real big?
Yes.
And point up here?
Yes.
That's the full spare rib.
Okay.
When they take the spare rib and they square it off like that, that's called a St. Louis rib.
I gotcha.
It
Okay.
all comes from the same animal. I used to think that there was such thing as a baby back pig.
Well, I'm glad you did the demo and you instead of me, so thank you
So
for that.
what we're going to do is we're going to take this St. Louis rib and we're going to cook it in the oven.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to cook it in the
Okay.
oven so it gets nice and tender, and then we're going to finish it at the grill, or on the grill, and so
Okay.
many people can do that at home. So I'll take the St. Louis rib, and I like that because it's just a lot cleaner looking. And I see this big fat here. You can carve that off if you want to, and just kind of get rid of it. Now, in competition smokers, what they will do, there is a membrane that goes along the back of the rib here, and you can actually take that off, and it's a little bit tricky, and I'm not going to do it for you today. But if you really are serious about cooking, you peel this all the way off, and that allows the flavors to get to the meat. Now, what you can also do, which you can see that I did here, you can take your knife
Okay.
and just score the membrane, and that will allow the flavors to go through just as well.
This white stuff that I thought was fat, that's the membrane?
Right, you see it
Okay.
here?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can actually get underneath there,
Okay.
and I can peel this whole thing off, but it's a
Would it be more
challenge.
tender or would it just be more like prettier?
It allows some of the flavor to get to the bottom of it a little bit
Okay.
more, and there's different theories and arguments whether it will tenderize it or not, but I'm not convinced that it will.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to put a rub on the pork itself. Now for pork, people I like a little bit more sweet. If you think about it, if you're eating pork, are you going to season it the same way that you would a steak?
No.
No,
no.
steak, you're putting salt and your pepper. On pork, this is a blend. This is our all-purpose rub.
Okay.
Okay, and this is a blend that we make, and it's a combination. It's heavy on salt and equal parts sugar.
Okay.
And so the sugar on pork does so well, it just makes it sweet. So I'm going to put the rub on it.
And the salt is a tenderizer, right?
The
Wouldn't
salt-
it help it to become more tender?
Absolutely, especially if we allow it to sit. Now, if you really want to, you can rub this the night
smells
before.
good.
Yep, smell that? It's quite
I
pleasant.
can smell it right here. It
Yeah.
smells delicious. What's the seasoning? We got sugar, salt, and this black
It's got
stuff.
some black.
Pepper.
Yes, this is a secret ingredient we bring in.
Okay, called
This
pepper.
is black pepper.
Okay.
And it's got
That's
a little bit
it?
of, a little granulated garlic, a little cayenne in there.
Okay, here we go.
It's got, and I put a little on the back, not a whole lot, because you want to be able to actually taste the meat, and you don't want it to be overpowered
Okay.
with the rub itself. Okay?
Now, how long do you have to leave the rub on there?
You really don't. You can actually put this right in if you'd like to. If you want to wrap it up and let it sit overnight, you can do that too, and that salt will take out some of the natural juices
Yes.
of the pork or the beef or whatever you have it on, and that certainly is a good thing for it too.
Okay.
You don't have to. You can take this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the oven at 350 degrees. Okay? And when I do that, I can put it in here now. If you really want to infuse some smoke flavor, okay, you're going to pick up some that's, a lot of times it's natural in a barbecue sauce. Okay, and I'm going to put a dab, just a little bit on before I put it in there. If you really want smoky, I'm not a fan of it, but you can get the imitation smoke.
You're not a fan of smoke?
Of imitation
Okay,
smoke.
sorry.
I'm a purist.
I thought you would
No,
like
no.
the smoky
You
taste.
think by now, yes,
Okay,
I would. but
yes.
No, imitation smoke is a liquid, and it's not natural. But
Yeah, we don't
it-
like anything not natural.
when you
Right?
take not at all,
No.
not at all. And sometimes you get a lot of that in the barbecue sauces, and you can taste that smoky
Wow.
flavor. And I promise you, it wasn't smoke.
Interesting. Wow.
Now, the important thing is you want to wrap it really tight. You can either wrap it individually or take the whole thing and just seal it. And that's going to allow all the moisture to stay on the rib itself while it's baking.
Okay. Do you know what I love about you? You don't mind giving us all of these secret recipes. They're not really secret.
No.
You share with us. Thank you for that. I didn't even know you were supposed to do that. I cook ribs many, many times at my home, and I've never done this. So now I'm going to know how to do it. I'm so excited.
Yeah, that's part I think about being Southern.
Yeah,
you
we
eat
share.
if you're willing to share.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we do.
All right, so I'm going to take this.
No
I'm gonna-
offense to the Yankees out there, right?
Not at all. I'm sure they share too.
Yeah, I'm sure they
They're
do.
working on it. And I'm going to put this in the oven at
Okay.
350 for actually probably about 3 hours or so.
Wow.
2, 3. You want it to be super moist.
Okay.
And when you take it out now, personally, if I'm not in a hurry, I'll knock it down to about 2 1/4.
And you don't have to flip it. We're going to just keep it in there at
Yep.
350 for 3 hours or
About-
2
about-
1/4.
Yeah, about 2.5 hours,
Okay.
somewhere in there. I'll knock the temperature down and just let it go slow in there, and it just really allows it to get nice and moist.
Okay.
So we're going to put this one in. Okay.
Through the magic of television. We're going to do
The
some television magic for
Yes.
you, viewers.
You distract them over there,
I'm
Barbara.
going to distract them. Don't look. Look right here at me.
All right. I'm going to take one out.
How about I put this over here?
Okay, thank you.
You want to put it in our oven,
Sure, as well.
or do you want to take it home?
Oh, happy to
He's
leave it with
probably
you
going to
guys.
take it home and have it for dinner tonight.
Okay. Now here's a really important part. Now we're going to take it. You want that real charred flavor that you get from a traditional barbecue
Right.
place. Now, what I'm going to do is when this comes out, okay, it's got a little bit of sauce on there. And when this cooks the full time, this will all be dark and really caramelized. I'm going to put a little bit more sauce on there, and I'm going to do a technique that's called flashing. I get my grill, and here I'm going to use an in-house grill. All right, that can go on. And at home, I would light my char grill outside
Right.
on my gas grill,
Right.
and you want to put it on medium-high,
Okay.
and just get it super hot. And you want to spray it with a little bit of, Pam or something like that, just to make sure that it doesn't stick on you. And what you're going to do, all of this sauce that I put on, it's got tons of sugar on it, okay?
Caramelizing. I can see it coming.
When I flash it, all
Do
right,
I need to stand back?
that's what you want. You want that high sizzle
right.
to hit. Now, while it's
Nice.
on one side, I'm going to go ahead and hit the other side
Okay.
with my, basically with my sugar.
Yeah.
That's in my barbecue sauce.
Right.
And you're going to just let it kind of go black.
Okay.
You want it nice and charred and really crispy. I like that when you bite into
I do
it.
too. I do
Now
too.
remember, we've already got the sweetness underneath it because it cooked with a little bit. And then I can also finish it off with a little more sauce. Now you see, this is a beautiful thing that you look for. When you cook ribs, one sign that it's going to be done is it starts to pull back from the
Right.
bone like that.
Right.
Let's take a look at what we have.
Okay.
And I would flip this over and caramelize the other side. And I would traditionally let this go a little bit longer. You see those brown marks that are starting to come on?
Yes.
Yeah, I like them a little bit more.
Maybe 5 or 10 minutes that we would do this, or even longer.
Yeah, probably about 3 minutes on high on each
okay,
side. 'Cause that was less than a minute.
Right.
You just want it to be so it's nice and dark enough. You see how the bones are pulled, how the meat is pulled back?
Yeah.
That's what you look for on a rib
Okay.
to know that it's done cooking. Now this is going to be a little bit too hot probably to eat, but you will have
Oh, those
that
are beautiful.
wonderful flavor of barbecue and done inside for you.
Oh, John, those
see how
look
nice that
so
is?
good. Beautiful. Now, with pork, it's okay if it's not quite done? I mean, if it's
Yeah.
pink, it's okay? It's not going to kill us, right?
Yeah, you don't want a bright fluorescent pink
Okay,
at all. But
that is beautiful. Well, we're out of time for this, but we're not going to taste it anyway because it's too hot.
Too hot?
When we take a break, we'll do some tasting, and we'll be right back. So stay with us. It looks great, John.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary.
Lovely. Nice.
Have you ever prayed for someone and wondered, is this doing any good at all? Maybe you're praying for them now. John Newton was born in London in 1725. His father was a harsh ship captain, and in contrast, his mother was a loving woman of great faith and devotion. She intended her son be a minister, and she taught him how to read by the age of 3. At 4, John was already memorizing poems and hymns and Bible passages. His mother died of consumption just before his 7th birthday, and for a time, John was sent away to a boarding school. But at the ripe old age of 11, Newton was assigned to his father's crew at sea. By his own admission, John Newton became an arrogant, headstrong, disobedient hoodlum. Life wasn't kind to him, and he wasn't kind right back. During a stint in the Navy, he was punished for desertion and then traded to a merchant ship that dealt in the slave trade. But John Newton's life was about to drastically change. Facing certain death in the midst of a furious storm, John cried out to the God of my mother, and miraculously his ship survived. John Newton's life began a radical change. In the years following his conversion, Newton was haunted by the memories of the lives that were wronged in the slave trade. He referred to the 20,000 ghosts within his head, wishing he knew their names, longing to somehow right those wrongs. Newton did indeed become a minister and a teacher, in particular a mentor to William Wilberforce, the person largely responsible for abolishing slavery once and for all in Great Britain. Putting his prayerful autobiography to song, Newton wrote, "Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me." John Newton knew the power of prayer and the limitless grace of God's love. He once was lost, but now is found in that great cloud of witnesses surrounding us. So let's drop whatever excuse we're hanging on to, and let's run with endurance this race set before us, keeping our eyes on Jesus, the source and the very perfecter of our faith.
I hope you enjoyed our program today. You know, we love setting aside times to honor those who served in the military, those who've served our country well. Honoring these role models, however, does not necessarily mean that we completely agree with decisions and wars, but instead we simply take the time to recognize those who are willing to protect us without even knowing us. We need to sit back and remember those who have given the greatest sacrifice, not only in today's society, but even in the Bible. Jesus was the perfect example of giving an ultimate sacrifice. What would have happened if on the day that Jesus was supposed to go and die on the cross, he decided that he was too tired or not ready to die for his people, or maybe even didn't agree with the cause? You know, we're just not worth fighting for. It's a scary thought. Jesus and the people that serve our country have at least one thing in common, and that is they do not let their temporary feelings dictate the actions they make when they know that they have the chance to protect and impact generations to follow. Today, let's honor those you see serving us and remember those people you know who are actively or have already served. They're worth it and deserve our honor and respect. And then thank God for those who have gone before us with the ultimate sacrifice, their lives, including our precious Jesus. And that's our note of hope for today. Thanks so much for joining us, and God bless you.